Welcome everyone to the National Youth Filmmaker Summit. My name is Dan Hudson. I am the executive director of this fine organization, and we have the distinct pleasure of advancing and connecting talented young filmmakers worldwide. We do film festivals, events like this, panels and conversations, getting folks back together, sharing lessons learned, tips to advance your career, all that good stuff. And we couldn't do it this year without our seed funders, the National Endowment for the Arts. Want to give them a huge shout out. And we also can't do any of these individual sessions without the support of our talented alumni filmmakers, and you'll hear from some of them tonight. And a visual description of myself for accessibility purposes for anyone listening. I am a white male in my 30s with a beard, no hair on top though, and a collared shirt, which is kind of got little seagulls on it. And I am coming to you live from Seattle, which is the traditional territories of the Coast Salish peoples, specifically here on Duwamish tribe land. And we have folks tuning in from all over the world, not least of which is our host and moderator, from our friends at Festival Formula. I want to give a huge shout out to Festival Formula for co-producing and co-presenting this session. And Katie McCullough, please join me here and kick things off. Thank you so much for being here. Thanks for venturing forth into this virtual void with us.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. Hello and welcome everyone. You are here right now to listen to some fantastic voices who are going to share their experiences and tips to get you prepared for the festival circuit. But first up, I'm going to introduce myself as well. I'm Katie McCullough. I'm founder of Festival Formula. We are a company that helps filmmakers navigate the worldwide circuit with strategy and submission support. So I'm really super excited to talk to some of these filmmakers today. I'm a white cis woman in my 30s with half a shaved head, and the hair that I do have is bright green. I'm wearing large dark glasses, and I'm wearing pale pink dungarees with women's face doodles on them, and a purple tee. And I'm only just realizing now I've got a bit of a Joker color combination going on, so I do apologize. I'm thrilled to be part of this inaugural event, which is sharing so much industry insight. It's unbelievable. It's so amazing that this can kind of still go on virtually and reach as many people as it can. I would like to throw to my lovely panelists who are going to join me to introduce themselves briefly. So I'm going to call them one by one, and they're going to unmask themselves and unmute themselves and introduce them to us. So Cassia, I'm going to start with you. All right, you've got.
Hi, my name is Kasia. I'm calling from London tonight, but I'm originally from Poland. I'm a writer-director of short films for now. I'm a white woman with brown curly hair that I've recently cut myself, and that was a choice that I made. I'm wearing a black turtleneck and black nerd glasses. Those are prescription and they're legit.
Nice. I should have said, actually, yeah, I am calling from the UK as well, and I'm calling from lovely sunny Luton. So next up, Hannah, would you like to come and join us?
Yes, good evening, everyone. And I say good evening because I'm calling in from Chicago, Illinois, from the United States. And I am a woman of color, multi-ethnic, and I'm wearing a black shawl, kind of trimmed with whites and white stripes, and curled hair, and I have served in a plethora of roles within film, including executive producer, writer, actress, production designer, blah, blah, more.
The whole gamut.
Yes, it's a pleasure to be with you.
That's great, brilliant. And next up, Charlotte, do you want to come join us?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Charlotte. I'm a writer, director from London, and it's 1 a.m. here, so I look pretty scruffy, but then I always do. And I am a white woman with blonde hair, though it's looking worse than it ever has, so maybe it doesn't look blonde today. And a grey hoodie and a very scruffy bedroom backdrop because there's no other space in our flat. So, yeah.
A pleasure to have you, part of the 1 a.m. crew. Max, where are you?
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, or good night, wherever you are. I am from London as well, screening from London right now, but I am from Spain. I'm half Spanish, half Danish, but even in Barcelona, where I'm from, they speak to me in English. They don't recognize me as one of their own. I'm a white male with short blonde hair, and I am wearing right now a black jersey. I am a writer director, and luckily my BA grad film got into Nifty.
Amazing, excellent. So we are now left with King Louis. King Louis, join us.
Hi, I'm King Louis Palomo. I live in the traditional and unceded territory of the Squamish, Musqueam, Tsleil-Waututh nations, or well known as Vancouver, Canada. I'm a writer, director, and also a VFX coordinator at Fuse FX Studio. I'm a POC man wearing a red shirt with a black hair and a black glasses.
Nice, brilliant. Well, thank you for introducing yourself, everyone. Feel free to kind of unmute and allow your cameras to see us, just so we can see everyone. That'd be great. So now that we all know each other a bit better, let's dig a little deeper. So this kind of session is about how to prepare filmmakers for the circuit. And what I love about this particular collection of filmmakers is that you all got different experiences and different roles, but also different experiences of different parts of the circuit, of the festival landscape. So first up, let's talk about the ideas of festivals, because we all know as a broad idea as filmmakers that festivals can help. But let's look at this on a more intricate personal level. So forgetting about, just the general industry, tagline of get your film out there, get it into festivals. I want to know, what do film festivals mean to you as a creative, and are they important? Which I realize is quite a bombastic question. I think we all know the answer, but it would be nice to hear people's responses to it. So I'm going to kick off with Max.
Well, as a small creator, I think film festivals are obviously our go-to platform because they allow us to share our work with our target audience if we do our job correctly, which is where Katie obviously comes to in this case. But film festivals just give us the opportunity to broaden our audience, give us a chance as filmmakers, whether it's your first time or your fifth or sixth time, there is a chance for one of us. And even for the big time directors, there's a festival for someone.
True. Just a quick question, actually. Can everyone remember the first film festival they went to as a punter? Cassia, what was yours?
It's Camera Image in Poland. I went when I was 15 in high school, and that's when I decided I'm gonna do films for the rest of my life. So it's basically Christmas. Like, I wait for Camera Image every year, and it's the place, where I get to see 5 films a day, sometimes 6 if I really push it. And just there's nothing else. I don't pick up any phone calls. I don't pick up any emails. It's the best time of the year, sorry.
I always say that when you're at a film festival, time goes a little wavy, and it's like a really rare allowed space where you can just kind of go, my role is to go into a dark room full of strangers and sit there for however many hours. And that's just the norm. Which also, I'm sure we've all experienced it here when you've gone to a film festival and you've watched like 2 or 3 films in a row, and even if you are massively enjoying it, you just get really tired and just start trying to keep your eyes open. I've done that many a time. Hannah, how about yourself? Why are festivals so important to you as a creative? And I'm also coming to you because you have a lot of different roles that you've mentioned. So obviously you've got different experiences of perhaps being at a film festival, but what does it mean to you and why are they important?
Yes. So the main theme or word that hits me hard when hearing your question, Katie, is inspiration. That is my biggest takeaway from every film festival that I've been at, and it's so many different ingredients that make that inspiration so rich, including, as you said, it's a time gets wavy. I love how you put that too. I don't know if that's, I don't hear that much in Chicago, but I'm going to use that now. But time does definitely feel wavy. You don't feel like you're because you're not doing life as normal. You're like, it's kind of like a trance when you're in that theater and getting in these movies and discussing it with people, but then also talking to other creators, as well as the people that put on these film festivals, who are extremely gifted and talented and organized. And that's what it means to me. It means inspiration. And I think as a creator, you need to constantly have inspiration as well as feel a part of a meaningful community. And that's a big component that goes along with it. So that's what it means to me.
Absolutely. I mean, we always kind of recommend people, to kind of get this level of understanding that you don't have to be an invited filmmaker to attend a film festival, because you can stop being a filmmaker, but you can't stop being an audience member at any point. So, going to those film festivals, even when you get turned down, especially, but also kind of understanding that the power of a film festival, as well as the absolute utter blood, sweat and tears that goes into making it run, especially in the last 18 months, is something that I think, the good festivals that mean something, that want to kind of push filmmakers' talent and kind of put them on a platform, the ones that have stuck around are the ones that want to do that. The ones that don't want to do that, they've kind of like been left in the dust, which, is a good thing, I think, because it means that the focus can go on those festivals that mean something a lot more. Can you remember your first film festival, Hannah?
I believe I can. I am pretty certain it was the DePaul, which is a university here in Chicago, and they have a film school, the DePaul Premiere Film Festival, which was just a few years ago. So that was my first one. So in a university type setting, but at a theater in Chicago.
Amazing. Charlotte, how about yourself? What do film festivals mean to you as a creative?
I think, well, the first kind of one I went to, which kind of explains like why it created such a great network, was the BFI Future Film Festival, which is I think similar to this festival in that it's like young people who come together and are like creating a community of filmmakers. So straight away, I suppose I just like found people that I loved and that I still work with today. I think it was like a really rare festival where they really encourage everyone to like chat to each other and to find crew members, because it's all like young people in London who are in kind of the same position as you, I suppose. And I didn't really know what film festivals were like, nor did I have many friends who really cared about film. We just like hit the big blockbusters. Even now, when someone asks me to come to an artistic film, I'm like, I don't know, it's not Harry Potter. So it was just nice to meet people that were kind of similar and wanted to make things. And I still work with a lot of the people I met at the BFI festival, like to this day and stuff. So yeah.
Because I actually saw a talk that you did at the BFI Academy celebration a couple of weeks back, and that kind of idea that sometimes you kind of feel like you don't fit at a film festival, even if you are like a filmmaker who's screening, because it's that kind of level of expectation of, oh well, it's going to be red carpets and fancy conversations and everything, and it's like so far from being that. There are festivals that do that, but the best, you know, the ones where you have a really good experience are the ones where you kind of go, I've literally just chatted for 4 hours about nothing and I'm loving it, like, and I'm not rushing to get the last train home or anything like that. But so was your film festival, your first film festival, BFI Future?
First film festival as like going, and then the first festival that I had the film at was TIFF. So like straight away, me and my friend Jack got like spoiled with like the nicest festival ever and the greatest people, and like you could go and see 5 and 6 films a day because the pass is sick. And ever since we're like searching. I think it was the year that like Arrival was there and we went to see that, and we're like forever searching for that like festival high again that we got from that first one. But,
yeah. Oh, nice. Max, how about yourself? Why are what was your first film festival again?
I'm pretty sure it was Sitges Film Festival.
Wow. Okay, so this is like the variety of people's first film festivals are literally kind of like a potted history of like big festivals in these kind of countries. And are you a horror fan?
I am a horror fantasy fan, but I have to admit it is not my go-to genre.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Sitges is like, even though it's like marketed as horror and fantasy, I don't know if you'll agree with me, but there is a lot more that goes into Sitges than those specific genres, which is what makes it so cool. Yeah. And obviously, as it's kind of like the only big festival we have in Barcelona, like the town goes crazy, and it's just a huge celebration of cinema, and it is like one of the best events to go to every year.
I don't know if this is good or bad, but it's just making me itch to go to all these festivals now after being cooped up for like 18 months. King Louis, what was your first film festival?
The first film festival I attended to when I moved to Canada was Crazy 8's Film a Gala, which is not really like more of a film festival. It's more like a screening where they did like this 8 days filmmaking. We're just like 5-6 groups of filmmakers, and that leads me to going into film school. But the first film festival that I attend to was the Cannes Film Festival. Again, that leads me to making my first directorial film.
Amazing.
So yeah, it's pretty nice how this first few festivals led me to what I'm doing next.
Yeah, no, I mean, I kind of feel like it's kind of part of the constant training that a filmmaker has. Like it's, you never kind of finish learning your craft, because you're always thinking like, what else is everyone else doing, or what is my next project, and who am I going to work with next? Yeah. I mean, you've kind of got quite a few films on the circuit at the moment. So why are film festivals important to you in terms of your particular projects?
I think for me, like when I coming out from film school, it's a bit different. It's more like exposure and like getting those laurels, but it kind of like changes as I, like get my more experience in the film industry and how film festival works. But for me now, it's more about exposing my film, networking, and like finding those people who have the same mindset as mine, like like same point of view, but at the same time like watching their different point of view of like how they make their film. It might be a same genre, but how they tell their story is a bit different. Again, it's more of a learning process as well, and networking, getting to know like, okay, I'm watching you, like I need to work with you next or something like that. But yeah, it's more, I mean, it changes like since COVID. I was actually sad when I started with my with the last film that I'm currently in the circuit right now. But as it progressed later on, I'm actually happy because I'm more connecting to people. It's weird in a way, because I get to connect more and get into those festivals, even though it's across the country.
Yeah, and I think that's the one thing that, as a company, and obviously, full transparency, you are a client of ours. Yeah. So one of these kind of silver linings of the past 18 months is that we've only ever said to people, don't see this as a slight or a negative. You actually kind of open up a door of possibility and have more opportunity than you would do on an average year. So if you got screened the other side of the world, the screening still happened, but that was it. Like the last thing you had was you sent them the film file, that's it. Whereas now actually that opportunity to do Q&As or to do a conversation or be included on a panel, it just opens up that opportunity of connection. And look, not gonna lie, it's not the same as being in a room with people.
Yeah, for sure.
But you still have that opportunity to talk about your work and for people to engage with your work. And doing, you know, panels like this, you know, we're all kind of dotted around the world right now in different time zones, but we have the opportunity to discuss and talk. And I think, imagine if the pandemic happened and we weren't in a world with social media and electronic devices. We'd be completely like, we'd all be writing War and Peace, I think, just over and over. But we only need one version of that because it's too long. And now we spoke, now we all know that there are, you know, a smattering of festivals that you guys have mentioned on here. But we all know that there are a ton of festivals that kind of happen around the world. Way too many, if I'm being honest, as a strategist. And it's growing every day, the amount of film festivals. And I've been doing this for 17 years. And even 8 or 9 years ago, we had a lot less festivals and a lot less filmmakers because it was more expensive to shoot and people were shooting on film. And I come from a background of having to handwrite forms and sending VHS tapes in the post. That's how old I am. But what I'm wanting to ask all of you is, what are you looking for in a film festival when you submit? And how do you decide where to spend your money and send your films? Because obviously a lot of people that be watching will have perhaps, you know, maybe less experience than all of you, or kind of be first timers that just stepping onto the circuit. And we all know how daunting it is when you click Open Film Freeway, or you look at the BAFTA or the Academy or the Canadian Film Screen Award list and kind of go, where do I start? Where does my film go? So what are you looking for in a film festival that makes you submit your film there? So I'm going to go to you, Hannah. You're going to kick us off.
So as I think many creatives do, however, I make a lot of, or all my films with the intent of triggering provocative thought and increasing justice and motivating change, to think about a lot of our societal issues or certain specific ones. So with that, I do try to look for film festivals that may have niches for that type of thing, and or maybe like mainly about that versus a particular genre. And so, for example, one of my last films got into Cannes as well in France, but it was in the diversity in Cannes section. And that was very specific to kind of what my film was about and what it was trying to expose and make us aware of, and again, hopefully inspire action to do something about for the future. So that's something I really look at. I also look at certain credentials that they may favor, particularly filmmakers of color, which I am, and including a Black filmmaker, as well as female filmmakers, right? And ones that favor having people behind the scenes of color. That's huge. And I do want to just uplift. I have been able to do some films where like nearly everybody behind the camera was of color, and that is extremely rare, as I'm sure we all know. That's shifting, but the needle moves too slow on that, as many other things in society. And so those types of things can really help. Or maybe even certain tech things, tech specs that certain film festivals may be looking for. That's a big thing that I really search for. And again, I think that's aligned with my heart for justice and social activism. I also, in terms of, I'm sure all of us probably do this here, that have had films in the film festival circuit, but if you're an alumni of a film, then you definitely, a lot of times you want to resubmit, because then you can also get an alumni discount. Sometimes they do, and that certainly helps with the cost of things. So yes, that's what I do for that.
Definitely, that's great. Do you know what, it's so refreshing to hear a filmmaker say that they actually kind of look at what the film festival wants, and actually kind of looks at the, not just the niches, but when you've got something that is either a provocative narrative, or it hits a narrative beat that the festival is either programming for that year or curating a particular thread. I mean, that's the biggest tip that we can give any filmmaker, is actually, you know, understand your film and understand where your audience is, because, you know, there are so many festivals out there. Like, if you just literally threw it against the wall, you'll spend a lot of money and get a lot of rejection. Max, how about you? How do you figure out which festivals to put your work into?
Well, to start with, I strongly agree with what Hannah just said, because what I try to think about pairing the film and with the film festival as a blind date, let's say. So I first start looking at the film, and from an honest / objective point of view, I try to identify what it makes it stand out. What, like Hannah kind of already pointed out, what it's trying to say, what genre it is, to what type of audience does it appeal to most. And with those characteristics, I go on Film Freeway in this case, and I just look at the ones that would hopefully match with my short film. What is always really distracting is obviously the inevitable desire of getting into the top festivals, which would, like, if you obviously get into, is really, really nice. And I don't know if Katie, you will agree with me, but maybe like you just have to try anyway. But what I found is that the ones where you'll succeed the most is the ones where you are objectively looking at your film and saying, my film is about mental health, therefore I will submit to New York Mental Health Film Festival, because it's looking for what I'm offering.
I mean, yeah, could not agree more. And that's kind of my job. So how about you, King Louis? When you're like looking at festivals and you're kind of like aligning it with your film, is there something that you kind of go, yes, that's going to make me submit? Or is there a little bit more? Is it something a little bit more deeper?
Yeah, I mean, for me, like I agree on both. But for me, it's more, I look at I think my first priority when I submit to film festival, or I do my research, or I plan the festival strategy, is to like the prestige of the film festival. I think that's one thing that, you know, we can't really avoid as a filmmaker. That's what we want to do. That's what we want to get. But also now that we have like submission websites like Film Freeway, there's like reviews as well, and like looking at the films, the selection of films in the past, and then like looking at the filmmakers or the films, and like seeing like, okay, this is the film that they selected, then maybe I have more chance on getting there, as well as because I'm actually planning my next the strategy for my next film. It's also the one I'm looking for is a solid organization of the behind the festival. Just because, again, I've come back from wanting to get more exposure on my film, and like looking under social media activity, and like, okay, like how do they promote filmmakers like me, and not just like, as a short filmmaker, we kind of like tend to be at the back behind the feature. So that's what I'm also looking for. And also like the perks. What are the perks that the festival? I just don't want a screening. I want to connect with people. How, like going back to that exposure, I would say.
No, definitely. It all makes sense as well. I mean, I think every filmmaker has those aspirations, kind of going back to what you're saying, Max, about, aiming for those big prestigious ones. And I suppose it's trying to kind of educate a filmmaker that if you don't get those festivals, that doesn't mean you're not a filmmaker. It means it wasn't the right project at that right particular time. But also just being very hyper aware of budget, because a lot of those festivals do come with a bit of a price tag attached to them, but also premiere stipulations, being aware of, if you're going to submit to a prestigious festival, what premiere status do they need, and is it the right time of year for you? Because we often get, somebody joined us now and they're kind of talking about Venice, and we go, it literally just happened. So, you'd have to sit on the film for a year near enough to kind of retain the world premiere, and you might not get that selection, so therefore you've kind of sat on the film for nothing and missed other opportunities. Cassia, what makes you submit to a film festival?
I'm gonna sound so uninspiring after all of this, but I think at the stage where I am right now, I'm kind of hoping to sort of collect the little stamps of approval that may interest the people who I'm hoping to work with in the future. So I'm looking for festivals that selected the kind of films I want to make going forward, and I try to sneak in there.
We've been doing very well so far, so
with your help.
I should also, again, transparency, Max, Cassia and King Louis have been clients or are clients of Festival Formula. That's kind of why I know them and their work very, very well. Charlotte, how about yourself? I mean, obviously you kind of have a bit of a record already with the previous shorts that you've had kind of playing at those big festivals. But do you have a particular mindset when you've made a film where you're like, actually, I want to go for that festival, or, I haven't conquered that one yet? How do you approach festivals?
No, not really. I hate the films as soon as they're done. So I just want to like get rid of it as soon as possible, I suppose. So whenever the edit's done, I'll just submit to whichever ones, because the first few films I've done with no money, so I couldn't really spend too much money on submissions, and I'll just submit to the ones that have deadlines coming up in the next month or two, and then I'll get those rejections or whatever, I'll get lucky, and then I kind of just give up on it. I don't really do a year of submitting, just because I know that by the time it gets round, that I'll just be like, I just hate this film, I can't bear to watch it or talk about it. I don't know why. And recently in particular, I suppose some of the films I've done that have been docs or a mix of docs and fiction, I find they seem to connect with the right people online instead of in festivals sometimes. So it depends on what kind of film I'm doing. But yeah, just a terrible, again, uninspiring process of just get rid of it as cheap as possible and then just never talk about it again, I guess. Yeah.
Do you think you'll ever get out of that or not? Or are you someone that just can't carry on watching their own work?
Yeah, no, it just makes you feel a bit sick. I don't know. It's just, by the time I'm in the edit, I'm like, oh, this film's all right, isn't it? But by the time the festivals come, it's sometimes 6 months or longer, isn't it? And you just feel all these mistakes I've made. I wish I hadn't done that. So yeah, by then done.
It's a long process, the festival circuit. It's tediously slow, and also it's a very exposing situation as a filmmaker to put yourself in, because essentially you are kind of going, do you like my film? And someone's going to go yes or no, and it's really, really hard. And we spend a lot of time kind of helping our clients with that level of rejection, because it's so faceless. But that it sometimes doesn't always mean that somebody didn't like your film, but it can be a bit of a blow, depending on how you deal with rejection. But well, now we've spoken about the festival landscape and how big it is, I want to get your thoughts on areas that you feel you have learned from. So what's the one festival mistake? We'll call it a mistake, and that mistake can mean premiere related, it could be cost, it could be deadline specific or tech issues or missing opportunities. But what's the one festival mistake that you've made that you want others to learn from? And I'm going to pick on you, King Louis.
Why me? No, in terms of Charlotte, I was actually thinking about that because I have kind of like the same people who have the same mindset, but I think it's more like I guess more a director. The producer mindset is somewhat different, but anyways, yeah, for me, festival mistake that I've done in the past was obviously like just because it's like my kind of like my first film and kind of like I just want to get more festivals and I just submit without even thinking. So that's like one thing that I've learned like really hard, and I get those emails. It's like, okay, I should have done my research. So now I think research is one of the things that I think is really important to do research before submitting. And also not rushing the film just because you have to hit a deadline. I think that's one thing that I've also learned is take your time. You know, like you wrote your story, you write your story, or you collaborated with people. You know, you did so many hours on set making this film. You did like post-production, and why rush it because you want to hit a deadline for a film festival? I think that's one thing that I've learned. Like my recent film, you know, like as you kid, you know, like I've shot it in 2017 and then finished in post for 2 years, and like and didn't finish until 2020. So that's one thing that I've learned. It's like because you have a film festival, like I need to finish it. Yeah, we need to hit to finish it. Or you need to submit a final cut. But again, it also comes down to money, because if you're paying people or asking people to do it, then they're putting their time and effort rushing a film that ended up like you have to redo again, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I mean, that's probably one of the most common pieces of advice that we're telling people is that don't get swayed by deadlines. Deadlines come and go, and and more than often, 9 times out of 10, depending on the festival that you're aiming for, you'll be eligible for the next year anyway. So it's like, don't rush it just to get to that deadline, because the whole point is like, if you don't, you put too much pressure on yourself, and you put pressure on the festival selection and not the film being selected. And I think there's a difference there. And yeah, I just, if I could hug every filmmaker when they get a rejection, I'd be a very happy woman. But there's only one of me so far. Cassia, how about you? What's the one festival mistake that you want others to learn from?
Mine is kind of the next step. So once the film is finished and you're happy with it, get all your tech, all your exports, all the different formats out straight away. Because when we kind of finished back in May, it was looking like everything is going to be digital anyway. So we did some sort of a 4:2 export to pop it on the Vimeo, done. Then, literally a couple months later, we had a physical screening, and suddenly we're scraping for a 5.1 mix for a DCP. I was working night shoots. It was just outrageous. We kind of finished the DCP like 24 hours before the screening, and then it didn't matter anyway, which, sorry. Just get it out of the way. Don't be lazy, I guess, and don't be like, yeah, that's fine. We've got the export, we'll send it, and we'll worry about it when we get a screening. Be prepared, be an adult, come on.
I cannot echo that enough. And as a company, we literally get everything from a client at the very first part, because we just don't want to nudge them, because we know you're busy. But also, as a spin-off of that, if you cannot provide what a festival is asking for, tell them, because they will do everything in a decent festival, a decent legitimate festival will do everything they can in their power to help you, but you have to be able to be honest and tell them early on. Don't have them chase you. Because we've had it recently where we've got a filmmaker in New Zealand, the DCPs in Australia, and the festivals in Albania, so trying to work with time zones and having an encrypted DCP, which doesn't help, means that, we have to circumnavigate it. But yeah, I would say as a spin-off, always ask a festival for help if you cannot provide what they are asking for. Hannah, do you have any festival mistakes that you want to share?
Yes, I think that mine is going to be, or the biggest thing that pops in my mind is the actual experience at the film festival. So in terms of that, because I think a big reason why we also submit, granted, I know most film festivals, filmmakers are not able to go to nearly all the film festivals that they may get into, but the experience, as everybody has said, is phenomenal. Don't stay up too late and be out too much in the evening, just because obviously most of the screenings and the events and where speakers come in and give certain tutorials or trainings and stuff happen during the day, and you don't want to miss that because you're too tired or however. So you're only there for that time. So the film festival length, or however long you're staying there for, that would be my biggest one. I have not done that frequently, I'm glad to say, but I have done it before, and I was like, oh, I really didn't want to miss that session, and you never know who you might meet at them. So, but the ones that you do go to, which hopefully are all of them that you make, and you're up and you're there, I'm still friends with, and Zoom, and he's in New York, a director that did a session at the DC Shorts Film Festival, who's been in the game for like 30 years. And he's somewhat of a mentor, but great film friend. So that's to say, you never know what lifelong connections you may make during these different sessions. So
that's so true. Don't allow time to get too wavy, basically.
Yes.
There you go. Max, do you have any festival mistakes you want to share before one?
Oh, yes. I have three quick ones. The first one that popped into my head was regarding the DCP, which was just try to commit to the final cut, because I made the mistake of just looking at it for like the 100th time and saying, okay, that's it. This is the good one. I'm not going to touch it ever again. And we made the DCP, we made the subtitles for it. And like 2 weeks later, I watch it again when my mind is like totally clear. And I go, no, how could I let that stay there? So I had to change the DCP, do the subtitles again. And obviously it was costly, but also time consuming. So that was one of them. Second one would be premiere wise. On one of my latest films, I got too excited and I did look at which festivals to submit, but I didn't really think about the premiere. And I think it is definitely one of the biggest factors of your film. Where do you want it to premiere? Even if it's on, I think someone mentioned online, directly online. Like maybe your film is not a festival film, and maybe it's just an online film, which it has nothing, it's just as good if it's gonna reach the audience you want it to reach. And one little one that I learned through my latest one was offering the festival as much material as you can. So like obviously offering subtitles, a press kit if you can with all the relevant information, stills, high quality stills, high quality poster, a good logline and short synopsis and long synopsis as well. Because I felt that when I actually got that kind of into control, let's say, I saw the festival websites promoting my work more often than when I had given them less.
Absolutely. Like assets are so important. And it's little things like, it's so rare for a festival to ask for behind the scenes stills. They want narrative stills, and they want stills that don't give away the story. They want something to entice. And I will say that because of the landscape for the last 18 months, with a lot of festivals being hybrid or virtual, there's actually more opportunities for visual-led content now. So it used to be, back in the day, printed program, and again, showing my age now, that if in a printed program, there'd normally only be one still that would promote the block of films. And, you know, if your film still was the header, you'd be like, yes, amazing. You'd still get your synopsis for all the other films written underneath. Now everything's virtual or online, or actually, you know, even if a festival is happening in person and they still have the breakdown of the films online for you to kind of look at the schedule, it's images, it's synopsis, it's more information than we've ever had access to before. And I think that's why synopsis is so key. And I spend most of my time rewriting people's synopses, because sometimes, and I get it, as a filmmaker, sometimes you're so close to a project that you kind of want to put everything in it. Whereas actually you need to make it a little bit more refined, and you want to entice people, you want to not give away everything, or definitely don't start with, you know, this is a short film about, because we know it's a short film because it's in the short film block or it's in the short film festival, and you're wasting precious words. You know, things like that. I just think absolutely, like, assets are so key. Charlotte, do you have any festival mistakes that you don't want anyone else to do?
This is like a really stupid financial one, and maybe it is like terribly like contradicting, but like some festivals say you have to like send them printed posters and stuff, and especially when you're a young filmmaker, like it's mad expensive, like, and you get there and no one's looking at your printed poster, and no one cares about your printed poster. Like, it's dead, it's just up there, like stuck on a wall, no one's going to look at it, it's not going to help at all. Like, if they don't see the film, they're not going to be able to see the poster and be like, oh sick, I'm going to email that person even though I've not seen the short. So it's like, yeah, 200 quid or whatever deep when you're mad broke on like some dead.
Yeah, I completely agree. There's a film festival that shall remain nameless, and every year they ask for quad posters to be printed, and you're just like, who do you think makes these films? Like, millionaires? Because I don't think anyone here is a millionaire. If you are, we should probably chat. But yeah, it's crazy. I think the thing that I will say is there is no kind of regulatory body for film festivals, which means that film festivals are all different and they run things very differently. Sometimes it is 6 mates that love film and they all argue about everything in a living room, watch everything. And sometimes it's a festival that's got judging rounds, and you know, it's a bigger organization. But I think, yeah, like asking for a lot at last minute as well, that's the other thing that kind of bugs me as a strategist, when a festival suddenly kind of needs everything really last minute. And it's like, you realize that, you know, we do this as a company, and if we're struggling, like, how on earth is a filmmaker who's on their own, that's got a day job or on a night shoot or shooting on locations, going to kind of deal with that deadline? Ridiculous. Anyway, so before we all gathered here, because I realized that we were running out of time, but in the last 10 minutes, before we all gathered here, I asked all of our lovely panelists to think of a great festival experience that they have had that they wanted to share. And I thought I'll go first and mention a few moments that our clients have shared with us, just whilst our panelists get ready to share theirs. But we had one client who was provided with an interpreter for the entire festival journey when they visited China, and it was a children's festival. And that started from the moment she landed at the airport. And she was so bowled over, because they didn't have to do that at all. But she was so bowled over by it. But it also just meant that she had a better cultural experience, because she had an interpreter for the entire duration through screenings, but also from taking them out on day trips and being able to talk to other filmmakers. And it completely made her feel comfortable, which I thought was a really lovely touch from the festival. One filmmaker had never traveled to the location of the festival area. So one of the festival team, and we're talking one of the volunteers, actually drove him around to show him the city, and basically kind of helped him get his bearings, and just kind of said, yeah, this is our amazing wildlife, and this is a hotspot, and this is where your film's going to screen like in a week's time, and here's your hotel, and so on. And the final one is that a film, and this is a little bit more kind of, you know, minutia, But the final one is that a film resonated so much with an audience member at a screening that the festival asked if they could introduce the filmmaker to the patron, because it was a very sensitive subject that the filmmaker had touched on, and this particular patron in the audience had really been touched by it. So they kind of set up this kind of, meet and greet, but not in a kind of, cloyingly emotional way, but just in a kind of nice private space, which all parties involved were really appreciative. And I just thought that was so nice for us to hear from a filmmaker, because going back to this idea of like engaging with an audience, but when you know that you've touched someone in such a way that, they want to thank you for it, through the power of film and everything else, I thought it was quite touching. So let's hear some other moments to share. So actually, does everyone have a moment? Yeah, raise hand if you do. Okay, Cassia, you were first.
Should have waited a bit longer. Mine is a little sad, I guess, but quite recently I had the week at work on a film set, and where I was working as a crew member, it's just been bringing me down so much. And then over the weekend I went to a film festival with the short that I made, which is this little sci-fi. And firstly, everybody was referring to me as the director, which was so building after, being the least important person ever for a week. And then kind of like what you said, people were just responding. And like, I ended up speaking until 3 a.m. about like the issues I have with sexualization of AI on screen right now. And it was just so refreshing to be a person, and just be kind of recognized as who you want to be. It was so nice. That's it.
It's good. I mean, sometimes it can be a little overwhelming because it's such a hard slog. There's a really weird disconnect between like writing the film, the genesis, making it, then you've got the post, and then you've got this like really long period of time where you're waiting to share with someone. And it might be that you go online, it might be do a festival, but it's almost like reliving kind of old memories, but creating new ones with them. It's an enjoyable, exhilarating, and terrifying process at the same time. Who else had a moment that they wanted to share? Max?
I have like a semi moment, I guess, but it's similar to Cassia's in that I think it was Euro Shorts. They during COVID they had their online screening, and what they did was you could watch the film on like a medium-sized screen while there was like a chat, as in like a normal just like streaming, where the audience members could just type what they were thinking. And that, as a creator, of course, felt absolutely terrifying to see what the people think live as they're watching the film, because obviously we wait until the end of the film to hear their thoughts, but as it's happening, it's just a really scary feeling. And to my surprise, the comments were really lovely and nice, and they, in this, like a great majority of the audience stayed behind after the film, because there were screenings afterwards. So a great majority stayed behind just to ask questions and kind of talk about the film through the chat, but it was still a oddly satisfying experience and heartwarming.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice. And also, like, again, like, you might not have had that experience if it were in person, because, your film might have been part of a block that, you wouldn't have been able to kind of listen in on those kind of engagements and the conversations going on.
Yeah, so we were lucky in that case.
Yeah. Oh, Hannah, King, or Charlotte, do you have any moments?
Yes, I have a moment, and I know we're running out of time. But this actually is probably still the most touching moment to me in all my film festival circuit history. This was at the Washington DC Shorts Film Festival, and an excellent film festival in the States, one of the best. And the executive director of it. There's awards. They have the judging rounds. They do it that way, and so there was awards. And this was also one of my very first film festivals. So I tried to do all the different events and really get my feet fully wet and understand what film festivals were all about, right? So they have this awards brunch, and the executive director casually comes up to me, "Hey, Hannah, would you mind just kind of being the host person, like, on these award shows when the person gives the award to the filmmaker?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, no problem. I've done catering. I do a lot of hosting type things. I'm like, this is right up my alley. It's fun." So I say yes. There's 5 different awards, and and he announces the people, and I give them, and the last one, he's like, in the award for U.S. Outstanding Narrative goes to Hannah Bonecutter. And I truly was shocked. And he tricked me, which is hilarious. Like he knew he was gonna do that the whole time. And so making it fun, but I was very, very shocked and very touched. I was not expecting that at all. And it was strange too, because I was like, I'm about to hand it to somebody and like, oh.
Just like one hand to the other.
Right. But it was wonderful. And again, such inspiration in that moment.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no, definitely. I always think that a festival proves its worth when they know who the filmmakers are. Like when you walk through the door and they actually go, "Oh yes, you're so-and-so from that film." And even better when they actually kind of say, "You should talk to so-and-so," and they actually kind of put you together. And seeing that at festivals and seeing it happen is such a joy. It really is. I've been told we can go a few minutes over, so I won't keep anyone too much longer. But King or Charlotte, don't worry if you don't. Did you have a moment that you wanted to share at all?
Charlotte, do you have anything? I can start. Yeah, for me, I mean, like, I haven't been at the film festival, to be honest, since 2018. I think my last film festival actually in person was Nifty in 2018. Because I've been just like making films, like been doing shorts, and then obviously didn't finish it until like a year later. And then obviously COVID. So there we go. But for me, like the most recent one is actually happening right now is Real World Film Festival in Toronto, Canada, which is, they're so nice. That's one thing I like is, again, networking. And one of the, where we have this mixers a few days ago, and one of the, well, she's the executive director, Tanya Williams, and she just introduced my name and to all this executives. It's like, oh yeah, this is King Louis Paloma. He's like one of the filmmakers, and like, she knows my film personally. And I was like, oh, I thought it's just like the programmers that knows my film, but like, she manages the whole, program, and she she knows everyone's name, she knows everyone's film. So I think that's one thing I'm looking for when I'm finding film festivals, like even like the executive director of the film festival know all the films and all the names of the filmmakers. So yeah.
Yeah, another example of a very well run festival is when that happens. Absolutely. Charlotte, do you have a moment you want to share?
Yeah, I suppose it's always nice like meeting the people from your shorts block, but it can be like quite like quick, and you never get a chance to like really connect with them sometimes, because when you get to networking events it's a bit mad. But and the only festival that's done this, I think, was like Toronto, where the programmers would take the people from each program out for dinner each night. So you'd get to just sit with like the programmers from the festival and all the people from your shorts block, which was sick. And you just got to like chat for 3 hours. It was like one of them chats that you spoke about where you all just chat rubbish about like really niche films that you like, or Harry Potter. And that was mad, just like, and getting to sit and chat with the programmers. I feel like most festivals you get to see them at events, but they're always like these people that you're like, hi, and then you're like a little bit in awe of them and all the films they get to watch, but you don't really get to connect with them. So it was like, it just felt like a mad detail to like sit and have dinner and all get to just like chat rubbish.
Yeah, I always think like it's kind of really weird that at film festivals sometimes the best experiences as a creative is actually not watching film at all. It's actually those kind of moments where like people are spilling out from a screening, or you're queuing up, or like literally like you're waiting for the shuttle bus home or something, that you end up kind of talking to people. Oh, I love it. This is making me miss like physical film festivals a lot. And I've been to some in the last few weeks. I'm going to 2 this week in the UK. So I'm fingers crossed we can all meet at a film festival and have a few bevies. But I love doing panels like this. I really do, even if it is 2 o'clock in the morning in the UK, because I get to chat to filmmakers around the world, and also, sometimes meet, face to face some of my clients for the first time, which is lovely. But if there's one thing that I can recommend to anyone, it's to be generous with your time as the creative, and when you can provide that generous time to people who ask for it kindly. And I think that's why I like doing these panels, is that all these filmmakers, they've taken that time and that experience, and they're willing to share. And because they've been asked, and they've been willing to kind of share with people, and that's what's a brilliant connection. And I think, for Nifty to be able to put this together in very trying times is amazing. So with that in mind, I want to thank our superb guests tonight, in no particular order, because you're all amazing. Cassia, Hannah, Charlotte, Max and King, and of course National Film Festival for Talented Youth. It's been a real pleasure speaking with all of you, and I wish you luck on all your projects, and I want to wish everyone to keep creative. And I don't know if Dan, you want to come back in?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Katie. Thank you. It's so lovely to see all of you. I'm so looking forward to some more in-person festival experiences, which our next edition will be in Seattle. Hopefully everybody can travel out to the States, or if you're in the States, please come. April next year, we're doing it. Thank you to our panelists, King Louis, Max, Hannah, Charlotte, Kaja, Katie from Festival Formula. Again, thank you so much. We do have a couple more sessions coming up in the summit before we close it out, including tomorrow. We have a session that's all about the art of short film. We have some festival programmers and some shorts curators from online platforms such as Vimeo, Staff Picks, all discussing why they select films, what they're looking for. So kind of maybe a little bit of a companion piece to tonight too. So be sure to check that out. If you have questions about like why certain short films get selected to festivals, and what kind of what's the art of a short film, what makes it a really good short film, check that out tomorrow. We still have some free tickets for that. Now with that, I know it's like 2 a.m. for some of y'all, so we'll let you go. Thank you so much for joining us. Thanks so much, everybody.